Hello everyone, welcome to Exneco's Ecotech Talk, Sustainable Technology and Innovation Series with Mr. Jayaraman Punithan, Vice President and Head Business Development of Hydro and Pump Storage Project Adani Group. Exneco stands for Exploration, Networking and Collaborations. Our mission is to explore sustainable business practices that maintain profitability while fostering strategic network and collaboration for benefit of organization and the planet. Mr. Jayaraman Punithan dedicated more than 2 decades on projects like hydropower, PSP, energy storage, and renewable energy projects. His core expertise is on securing new business opportunities, mergers, acquisitions, and policy advocacy in India and abroad at Adani Group. He is also an international advisor and strategic consultant in renewable energy sector. Additionally, he has authored several technical papers and articles that has been featured in prominent national and international forums. His introduction would be incomplete without highlighting his key achievements and few notable projects like 50 megawatt solar projects in Tamil Nadu, 200 megawatt lower hydro power projects for Ministry of Power, Government of India, 1200 megawatt and 880 megawatt hydropower project at Myanmar, and many other projects across India like Himachal Pradesh and Leh Ladakh regions. And the list goes on and on. Today, we are here to discuss very important topic, empowering a sustainable future, the impact of hydro and pump storage projects on meeting energy demands. Myself, Ravi, and we have Shrestha here, host for the day. On that note, I'm pleasure to welcome Mr. Jayaraman to Exneco's Ecotech Talk. Thanks for joining us. It's pleasure to have you here. Welcome again.
Thank you, Ravi, and thank you, Shrestha.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, so we can start with our very first questions. For our viewers, can you able to elaborate what is the basic principle behind hydroelectric and pump storage projects, and how do they differ from traditional energy storage methods?
Yeah, thank you, Ravi. Thank you, firstly, for having me here on the talk here. It's a privilege for me to join you both and a wider audience to today talk on sustainability aspect on hydro and pump storage projects. So coming to your first question, the basic difference is that hydropower projects are of various kinds, actually. The major one is the run-of-the-river project, wherein you build a dam across a river, which is mostly a perennial river, and then you divert that water and try to generate power through a powerhouse, and then you release that water back into the river. So basically, we are not storing any water there. So that is the basic run-of-the-river scheme. There are also storage schemes wherein water is stored, but as long as sustainability is concerned, run-of-the-river projects are considered more sustainable. So now coming to the pump storage project, the difference between a pump storage project, though they are similar in nature in terms of construction, a pump storage project will have 2 reservoirs. So in a hydropower project, the water is not being utilized. It is going to be released back to the river. Even in a pump storage project, the water will be repeatedly used within the 2 reservoirs. So this is the basic difference. And within pump storage projects also, there are on-river schemes and there are off-river schemes.
Mm-hmm.
So an on-river scheme will utilize the river water directly, whereas the off-river schemes will take a one-time filling in one of the reservoirs,
Mm-hmm.
and that will keep on circulating. So within this off-river scheme also, we have something called the off-stream closed loop project.
Mm-hmm.
This is the low-hanging fruits, and this is where the entire world is looking at, because we are not tapping directly into the water, but we are trying to utilize a one-time filling in the reservoir and then try to create a water battery kind of thing.
Yeah.
So basically, you can call a pump storage project as a long-duration energy storage or a huge water battery as such.
I think PFC comes with the advantage of you can shift your entire project away from the water reservoirs, I think, right?
Yeah, exactly. Not water reservoirs, but away from the river, away from the
Yes.
mainstream rivers,
Yes, yeah.
because this is how the concept has been developed. Actually, Australian National University had brought out this concept initially to identify large pockets of water availability in natural undulations. Natural undulations are being used to identify a head difference between two reservoirs and create two reservoirs, which will not affect the ecosystem or the riverine system.
Yes.
This is very interesting. In fact, it's good to know that this kind of project exists and it's very sustainable as well. And now coming to our next question, how effective is pump storage hydro projects in balancing energy supply and demand, especially during peak and off-peak hours?
Yeah, thanks, Trisha. Very good question. Actually, pump storage project, as it's a long duration energy storage, has various use cases. So balancing this off-peak and the peak demand is only one of its use case. We call this, I mean, you can also take it as energy arbitrage. For example, if you look at the load profile over a single day, and if you look at the curve for the demand, it is high in the morning peak and it is high in the evening peak. So there is a lesser demand during the daytime. And whereas if you look at the profile of the solar power that is generated during the day, the peak generation is during the day.
Exactly.
So during that peak generation during the day, the surplus solar can be utilized in order to charge these pump storage projects. In fact, for a shorter duration, you charge the batteries, and for a longer duration, you charge these water batteries, the pump storage project. So what we are trying to basically do is trying to utilize that low demand and low cost power to as an input to pump the water from the lower reservoir to the upper reservoir, and then try to generate during the high peak demand.
Yes.
So this is the basic concept behind trying to decrease the intermittency of the variable renewables like solar and wind. And most of the pump storages are supposed to utilize renewable energy like solar and wind, which is excess during the day. So in order to have a renewable energy or a green concept.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Wonderful.
Definitely makes sense. So, and I think this project comes with a lot of capex, according to me, and also even the operating costs. So, coming to the cost perspective, maintaining the hydro and pump storage projects compared to other renewable energy source. So, what do you feel like how that influence the project altogether?
See, I would like to, before we get into hydro and PSP, I would like to make one major difference between hydro and this one, because hydro is a generation asset, whereas in pump storage, it is actually net consumption of energy. We are trying to consume the surplus energy that is available and trying to store it. So there is a major difference between the hydro. This is the major difference, and this is where we want to delineate between a pump storage and a hydropower project. Having said that, the costs for the pump storage projects are typically lesser, given that there are not much rehabilitation and resettlement involved, unlike in many hydropower projects. There are not much, I mean, if you get across the risk mitigation aspects, the risk mitigation for the environment is very, very low in pump storage projects because it is not going to submerge huge areas. And it is also, I mean, most of the pump storage projects that have been devised are getting into those places where there is no population existing or there is no, I mean, much of a disturbance to the environment. So this is one aspect. So all these things brings down the cost comparative to hydro. For example, in a hydropower project, okay, maybe you can say around the typical benchmark cost is around 10 crore to 12 crore per megawatt also these days, given that it is mostly situated in the younger Himalayas. But if you look at the pump storage projects, the costs are much, much lower, around 4.5 to 5.5 crore per megawatt.
Okay.
So this is almost comparable to your renewable sources like solar and wind. This is one thing. And if you look at the capacity utilization factor also, I mean, we can utilize this in a much better way in the peak demand period. So the cost for solar, I mean, as you're all aware, I mean, it's around 4 to 5 crores maybe per megawatt. So this is also similar, around 4 to 5 crores or 4.5 to 5.5 crores per megawatt.
Yeah.
And also one benefit is that we can use already where there is already a storage, a reservoir that can be directly used for pump storage. So that is also one added benefit.
Yeah, exactly. Actually, there are different kinds of projects where there is already an existing reservoir. So,
Yes.
for example, if there is one existing reservoir, then you will just have to create a upper reservoir and then try to have a head difference and try to utilize the same. But there is one major challenge because you need to build a coffer dam into it and you need to keep that water away in order to bring in your intake from the lower reservoir. So that typically has at least 50% of the cost involved. So, I mean, it makes more sense to have, I mean, new reservoirs instead of getting into the existing reservoir, because the existing reservoir might have been having other use cases, like it might be an irrigation project or something. And then the water utility and the water allotment has to be taken up from the water resources department. But yes, that is a good idea where really you have the typical head and the L by H ratio. So it really helps.
Okay.
That's
Understood.
great.
So, considering the growing peak energy demands in any country, especially in India, and also the energy requirement is increasing day by day. So, what do you feel, Jayaraman, like this hydro and pump storage project can be an ambitious project to meet our net zero carbon targets and reduce the fossil fuel consumptions going forward?
Definitely, because see, there is no raw material here. This is water, and it is not being utilized as such. It is only utilized for the generation and then left back into the river as far as hydropower is concerned. And the role of pump storage is very great to an enormous extent, given that its utility and its ability to have a longer storage duration, maybe 6 to 8 hours duration. So most of the peak is in the morning 4 hours and in the evening 4 hours. So this pump storage comes as a blessing in disguise, and it acts as a natural water battery in order to mitigate that. And you know that, I mean, given the demand profile in India, the peak is mostly in the evenings, and it goes very high. Even if you look at the merchant markets, you can see the variability or the kind of demand that is there available. In India, there are a lot of industries and the C&I customers' requirements. So all these put together, the peaks are maintained very well with setting up these pump storage projects.
And attaching to this question, so you talked about surplus energy. So that is the excess energy that we are going to generate through solar and wind. Okay. So what is the profile as of now? Like in India, we are producing more energies than the requirement that can be stored for hydroelectric projects.
Definitely, if you look at the demand profile of a typical solar project, and given the CUF somewhere around average of 27% or something in solar. So in the daytime, the demand is very low, and you will have to utilize it, and it'll go and it'll have a congestion in the grid. So that is where you're trying to utilize that excess power and trying to pump in the water from the lower reservoir to the upper reservoir in the pump storage. So this is definitely going to go a very long way. The government of India has come out with major plans for the solar and wind generation, of course. And now that the pump storage has come in, then we really have a longer duration green solution.
Okay, that's wonderful.
Yes, so that actually brings to the next question, which is about what are the key policy and regulatory challenges facing hydro and pump storage projects, and how can government support their development? So, what can government do when it comes to pump storage?
Yeah, in India, the government already has a hydropower clear policy, and also there has been a guideline for development of pump storage projects, the 10th April 2023 guidelines, which has been out. And this is very, very favorable. I mean, there is a lot of support from the government of India in terms of development of these pump storage projects, especially given that they have clearly identified the areas where the pump storage, and for the private developers also, especially the off-stream closed loop projects that have been given on nominated basis by the government of India and the various states, is really going to boost the development in this sector. And there's going to be huge investments in these pump storage projects.
That's
So as far as
wonderful.
so as far as the policy is concerned, I think it is giving a very good impetus, but there are a few areas. But before that, let me highlight some of the positives which the policy brings. One is, of course, the waiver on the ISTS charges. For example, for renewable and solar and wind, you need to commission a project before 2025, mid 2025. Whereas in pump storage projects, they have relaxed it for award of the project before 2025. So we can expect that a lot of projects will be awarded before this deadline of this ISTS waiver. That is one thing. And we are expecting that the government relaxes this deadline more, though it has been over a staggered way in 4 years up to 2028. We are expecting that the government would relax this ISTS waiver, because this is going to be a huge turnaround, and it'll be a paradigm shift in the energy scenario here. That is one thing. One more thing is that they have provided a budgetary support for the infrastructure development. For example, the roads, the bridges, and all those associated infrastructure which is associated with the major project. The government of India has come out with the infrastructure support, which they will provide. What we feel is that though they have linked it to the Section 62 and 63 of the Indian Electricity Act, since the demand is also from the C&I customers and many other customers, we feel that if there is a dealing between that Section 63 and Section 62, so that even this industry benefits from this budgetary support, because this budgetary support will go a very long way in easing the financial model of all the developers. So this is a very welcome move, and we have been interacting with the government, the Ministry of Power, and we have been always interacting and trying to see what are those areas where we can improve this situation. Regarding the clearances, I think a lot of developers will agree. At this moment, the clearing agencies, the clearance agencies, the appraisal agencies in the central government, like the CEA, CWC, GSI, CSMRS, they are all, I mean, maybe they're not too much geared, because the rush in number of projects now is very huge. So there is a bit of time lag in getting the appraisal process. So this, we have been interacting with the government of India also to try to see if there can be a lot of, if that gap can be reduced. And moreover, the government has also come out with various measures, because pump storage projects typically do not get into all these hydrological or the historical river data and all those things. So wherever there can be a relaxation and the minimum chapters that need to be submitted for the appraisal, the government has already done it, and we are interacting with the government. I think right now it is a very, very favorable moment for building up these pump storage projects.
That's wonderful. So now the next question that we have is, given India's distinctive climatic and hydrological challenges, how can hydropower project address water demand, particularly in areas prone to drought or seasonal water shortages?
Yeah, see, if you can look at this, we can look at this in two aspects. Basically, most of the young Himalayas that is running right from the north to the northeast of India, there are more challenges, typically in terms of hydrology, in terms of flooding, in terms of the geological surprises or
Exactly.
these things. And if you come to the peninsular India, where there is more of a seasonal shortage or thing.
Yes.
So this is where the run of the river is going to come. I mean, the site investigations and the pre-construction activities have to be optimum and extensive in terms of hydro, because it will give you a confidence as to how your water is going to be utilized in the river. And as far as seasonal shortages are concerned, if you're talking about pump storage projects, they're not going to utilize anything because it is just a one-time filling of the reservoir. And the same water is going to be recycled, except for maybe 3 to 5% of the evaporation losses.
Yeah.
That is going to be recovered. So there is no water that is being utilized for a pump storage project.
Yes. And also, I came across floating solar projects. So, for pump storage projects, floating solar projects are convenient to have them as well?
No, actually, for a pump storage project, on a daily basis, the reservoir keeps impoundment is going up and down on a daily basis. So this brings a lot of imbalance in the water.
Okay.
So I don't think so personally, because I have been doing floating solar also in my past projects. Floating solar typically is a challenge where the depth of the reservoir is very high, because anchoring and mooring is a major challenge if you have a larger depth. So this is where floating solar is more successful where there is shallow water and where you can do an anchoring and so typically the reservoirs of pump storage projects are not suitable for floating solar. Even in a hydropower project, wherever there is storage, huge storage, yes, floating solar can be part of it.
Yeah.
But in the run of a river, no, the floating solar cannot be a part of it, because again, there the fluctuation is very much.
Yeah.
Yes, and also the reservoir should be shallow for floating solar projects.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah. So attaching to this particular question, so I have a next question, like integrating the pump storage and hydro project to with other renewable energy. So as rightly mentioned, I was even thinking like the storages where there is a water reservoirs are available, can be floating solar can be implemented. So what are the like integrations that we can do it for more resilient and sustainable energy grid for the future? So
one of the best way of pump storage project that can be integrated is developing into an RERTC solution, the renewable energy round the clock solution.
Okay.
So, I mean, most of the people who are doing it are doing these pump storage projects on a standalone basis, and trying to keep this as a generation asset, and trying to integrate this with solar, more of solar and less of wind.
Okay.
And then trying to bring out a green RERTC solution. So round the clock typically does not mean 24 hours. Actually, it can be 16 hours, it can be 18 hours, it can be 20 hours or something. But how much of integration of the green energy without utilizing any of the fossil fuel based energy? This is one of the major advantages of integration with pump storage projects. So second is, of course, the grid stability, because there is huge fluctuations in the grid, and the stored energy can be utilized in having a stability in the grid fluctuations, as well as the frequency regulation, the primary and the secondary frequency regulation. So this is also one of the major aspect. And given the quick ramp up and ramp down time for projects, whether it is hydro or pump storage, this is more suitable in terms of trying to regulate this. I mean, in the transmission. For example, there are a lot of countries which use these things as a transmission asset also. For example, China utilizes this as a transmission asset, whereas in India, we utilize this as a generation asset. So it depends on your completely your load profile and the fluctuation that is happening in your grid.
Yeah. So, for example, right now there is a lot of hydroelectric project, and you've been to with many hydroelectric projects. So, what is the trade-off? Like all the hydroelectric project in India is running with pure green energy, or is there something like still fossil fuels are utilizing for generating electricity to pump the water, basically?
See, if you're talking about the conventional hydropower project, they're not utilizing any energy as such, because this is just a water which is being utilized to generate power.
Yeah, this was the pump.
If you're talking about pump storage project, the input power typically has to be from renewable sources. This is the concept. But I think lot of, given the amount of renewable energy sources that is available in plenty, I think there is no challenge in utilizing only purely renewable. Purely renewable. Though at a time maybe there might be a mix, because the ISTS waiver also gives some relaxation in this part to term this as a renewable component. But then most of the C&I customers, or maybe the huge IT or the data centers players, they are all wanting to go pure green. And I think there is no challenge because of the availability of the renewable sources.
That's really good. That's really good. I think India is moving towards full green, I guess.
Yeah.
In that case. Yeah. So coming to, you already mentioned the main challenges could be grid stability and power peaks. Okay. So coming to the advanced technology like AI and ML. So how like hydrological modeling and predictive analysis can help to stabilize this the fluctuations.
Well, if you're talking about the hydrological data, for typically in a hydropower project, lot is I mean, we depend on the historical hydrology data of the river. Typically, say around 30 years of historical data from the gauge and discharge sites, what you call the 10 daily discharge, is more suitable or gives you the confidence in terms of the water availability for a hydropower project. So that is one aspect. And this typically in India, we try to derive it through a 90% dependable year. We try to find out what is the 90% dependable year and design that hydropower project according to that availability. That is called the design flood. So yes, hydrology plays a huge role if it is a hydropower project. But if it is a pump storage project, no, because we are not utilizing any water. It is going to be only one time circulation of the repeated use of the water.
Exactly.
That's great. So one question for the young entrepreneurs. So what is your advice to the young entrepreneurs who are willing to contribute towards sustainable Bharat?
Well, this is a really wonderful thing. I mean, see, today as we look at the growth story of India, especially in the energy sector, we are standing out in terms of exploiting and trying to availing whatever natural resources are there. And this is the moment for India to shine. The government has brought out very, very good policies to support this energy sector. And given the technological advancements, given the AI integration and all those things, I think young minds and more technological innovations in order to do these things which were being done in a conventional way, will help a lot. I mean, integrating the SCADA system, integrating artificial intelligence, trying to make an energy modeling and trying to see how to optimize the various renewable sources.
Simulations.
I think the young, minds who are typically out of college have a huge role to play in this. And this is definitely an interesting sector and which is booming like anything.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Jayaraman, for all your inputs. Considering the time, we are closing this tech talk, but we want to have many more discussions with you and your team. Thanks for making us understanding about the basic difference about hydropower and pump storage projects. Hope the viewers will be definitely benefit out of this, and also giving a glimpse of how the policies are making a change and boosting the hydroelectric and basically renewable energy projects in India. So definitely, it's a very worth discussing with you. Thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you so much, Ravi and Krishna. Thank you.